When you think about Street Fighter 2, you think about the original arcade game, you think about the Super Nintendo version, you think about Street Fighter Alpha, Super Street Fighter 2. But in 1995 they released this pile of shit for the Sega Saturn, Street Fighter the movie. But is it any good? Is it fuck? It's a pile of shit, but let's have a look anyway. In 1994, fans of the Street Fighter series were pissing their pants for the upcoming movie, but they were let down massively. The cast was mainly a pile of crap and there were barely any fights in it. Ken's Dragon Punch was weak and so was Ryu's Hadouken, but at least Guile's Flash Kick was good. So they cobbled together a game to disappoint us even more. This was all done digitally, just like Mortal Kombat, so surely it would appeal to fans of the game. You have two main events to choose from, and they are Movie Battle, which is a story from Guile's point of view. You can only play as Guile throughout this mode. So if you don't like Guile or his moveset, then you're not going to like this. You start off against Bison and will probably get your ass kicked. This doesn't result in failure. You do continue through the story. That's if you can be bothered. And there's Street Battle, which is your usual Street Fighter style game where you fight through the whole roster of characters. Now let's take a look at this lineup. There's Guile, Chun-Li, E Honda, Balrog, DJ, Cammy, Vega, Sagat, Blanka, Bison, Zangief, Ken, Ryu and Sawada. Now that's a good amount of characters, but seriously they are pretty pathetic. Guile is the all-American army guy who is played by a man from Brussels, which is stupid. Welcome to the Van Damme era. Chun-Li is okay, but I'd expect her to be wearing a trademark blue outfit. E Honda is passable. Balrog is okay, but looks too friendly. DJ looks fuck all like the original character, who had huge dreads, and actually looked like a fighter. This guy looks shit. Cammy is awful. I mean, who the fuck cast Kylie Minogue as a Street Fighter character? I'm sure there are more options on the planet than a hugely successful pop singer. Vega wasn't too bad though, and neither was Sagat. Oh, but Blanka, what the fuck happened there? He looks like Mick Hucknall after his last tour date. His face looks like a child threw some Play-Doh at it and couldn't be bothered making anything of it. Unless there was a shortage of makeup artists that year, then this is just a piss take. Bison was okay, but casting someone who's too skinny for the role was just a bad move. Sadly, this was due to his illness, which he later died that year. Zangief again was okay, but Ken was shit. He looks nothing like his counterpart except for the red pyjamas. If you've ever seen Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, then you know that Ken can be made to look more like the game character than this. Ryu again was barely passable, only distinguishable by the white pyjamas, and Sawada is Sawada from the movie, so top marks there guys. Playing the game, however, wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. The controls respond as you'd hope, especially when executing a special move. Not once did I fail to pull off one of these moves. The main screen is like Super Street Fighter 2, where you of course have your energy meter and time remaining, and a super meter which fills up as you perform attack moves. This fills up relatively quickly, so you can get a few super moves in per round. The Dragon Punch is a proper one, unlike the movie, and the other special moves seem pretty good too. Super special moves were again easy to execute, not as flashy as the Alpha series, but still nice to have. The level of difficulty didn't seem too hard either. There were some close calls during stages, but still not much of a challenge. And I'm not complaining about that, as when the default setting is quite hard, it puts me off a game. When your opponent is chosen, the character background is the blue screen. Surely they could have edited some backdrop in here. It's not too difficult to do, I mean even I can do that. The background designs were similar to that of the movie, but didn't really appeal to me that much. They seem a bit dull and boring. They all look like the other games, maybe that's what they were going for, but something that's longer than a standard GIF length would have been better. The music was relatively boring and didn't stand out much like it did in any other Street Fighter game, and I bet you can play a classic Street Fighter 2 track in your head right now. Not that it matters that much, but it's nice to have something catchy and memorable. The only problems I had with this game as a whole is the characters. The cast mostly was terrible, and I'm not a fan of realism of characters in a Street Fighter game. The graphics are pretty good for the time. I'm sure on a CRT TV it would look so much better. There are 14 fights you have to get through, and if you include the loading time and the length of time it takes to get through a cutscene, it turns out to be a painful task of getting through the game. It also suffers from slowdown in some areas, which can be frustrating as you have to wait before you can perform your next move. There are far worse games out there at the time this was released, so as it stands, it's a game that does function properly, but it's not what I consider to be a real Street Fighter game. Just like that mess that was Street Fighter X Plus. But is this game worth getting today? Probably not. I mean, if it was a cheap game, then it might be worth adding to your collection, but for the high price it's demanding, I'd definitely pass on this one.
You win!